Okay.
Anchors away, my boys. Anchors away. Sail on to distant shores and sink their bones to Davy Jones' array. That is Anchors Away. That is the fighting song and marching song of the U.S. United States Navy. I'm speaking of the United States Navy. Throughout its long and rich career, there has been many members to play pivotal, play pivotal moments within the U.S. Navy's history. And one of those ground shakers and barrier breakers was none other than Samuel Lee Gravely Jr. Samuel Lee Gravely Jr. was born June 4th, 1922 in Richmond, Virginia. Growing up, when he was of age at 18, Samuel Lee Gravely Jr. did decide to begin his naval career at Great Lakes, Illinois, which is located in Chicago, 20 miles away from Chicago, Illinois. And so there at Great Lakes, Illinois, Gravely did receive his training, and from there he did enter into the reserves. And just to inform you, he enlisted in the year 1942. One groundbreaking truth about Samuel Lee Gravely Jr. is that Samuel Lee Gravely Jr. was the first African American commissioned officer in World War II. During World War II, he did have his own chance of being able to command his own ship, which was something during that time was unheard of in the Navy. And so he was the first commissioned ensign officer of World War II, as well as being able to command his very first ship, the USS Turing, during the war. After the war was over, Gravely did leave service, and so that was about 3 years. He served for 3 years. After his 3 years, he could not retire for too long, and he did end up going back into the service after leaving for a while. But once returning back into service, Gravely was still shaking barriers and moving obstacles and paving the way for future African Americans in the U.S. Navy. Once returning back, he was then able to be the first African American to command his own fighting ship. So it was one thing to just being able to command your own ship, but to be the first African American to be a commander of an active combatant ship during the war, that was a whole nother milestone that Gravely did achieve during his time in the Navy. And again, Gravely had a rich career throughout his time here. So throughout his career, he was continually pushing barriers, and paving the way. And the name of that and to mention the fighting ship that he was the commander of, it was the USS Falcon, which was a destroyer. In the year 1962, in 1966, Gravely pushed further in his naval career by becoming a commander, which is again another higher up commissioned officer. So as you can see through Gravely's career, from starting within the reserves, he has already moved his way up to becoming commander in 1966. In 1967, he was then promoted to captain, which was considered another first. Gravely at that year achieved being the first African American captain in the United States Navy. Towards the end of Gravely's career, he showed no signs of slowing down at all. He continued to be a monumental giant in the Navy. In 1971, he achieved becoming the first admiral, African American admiral in the United States Navy. As admiral in the United States Navy, he was even able to become the commander of the 3rd Fleet, located in Hawaii. In the year 1976, after 34 years and serving in 3 wars, Gravely decided to retire from his service. Archimedes once said one time, "Give me one firm spot on which to stand, and I will move the earth." And that's exactly what Graveling did. He stood on his one firm spot in the United States Navy, and he moved the earth and paved the way for future American sailors.